I just used one of these sockets from this very reasonably priced Kobalt bolt extraction kit. This is a Toyota pinch nut, believe it or not, a very old 25-year-old rusted out Toyota pinch nut. It's a 12 millimeter, and I was able to remove that using one of these sockets. I want to see if I can show you how it works on another one. Hopefully it'll work. I can show you how to extract this one. It worked really well for this bottom one, but you can see I got a better line of action here. The main thing with these extractor sockets that have this kind of flower shape with the flares like that is you got to really hammer them in place so that they grab onto the nut and kind of start to deform it. And then when it's really on there well, you can put a wrench on the outside here or 3/8 on the inside here and turn it out. This is tough since I don't have a straight line to get a hammer on here. This little space is too small for a hammer, and I've got the unibody right here. So I'm going to try to get something where I can stick in there, come out here and smack the back. You can see it's going to want to kind of get a little crooked. So I will say that I did soak this with some PV Blaster. I did clean the PV Blaster off, so it's been soaking for over an hour with the PV Blaster. Make sure you take advantage of some penetrating oil. And we'll see if I can tap this on here. I'm going to kind of hold it because it's going to want to go crooked, as you can see. Alright, so I'm going to start tapping. It's going to get loud. Okay, it feels like it's getting a pretty good bite on there. The next consideration is finding a tool to get on here when you have the oxygen sensor in the way or the shield. For this bottom one, I didn't have a problem getting a regular size 3/8 inch ratchet like this right in here. But on this one, there's more stuff that's in the way, and then this consideration back here. So just keep that in mind. I could still get my breaker bar in there. That's just going to be kind of annoying because since it's not ratcheting. So what I'm going to do is use a socket. This is a 19 millimeter or 3/4 inch. The outside hex on that, so I've got a 19 millimeter on here. I'm going to slip that on there. Make sure I'm on there real well. Make sure it's biting, and let's cross our fingers and hope we get lucky. Alright, here we go. Ooh, I have to move the camera. Let's see, maybe I get lucky. Here we go. Oh, come on now. Hopefully I don't knock the camera. Oh, yeah, look at that. Oh, we're turning. Sweet. I've used these Kobalt, Irwin, whoever actually makes them. I've used them a few times, and they do work. Okay, let me see if I can get on there with a more efficient tool. It's probably still real tight. Yeah, it is. You can see there I just put an extension on now that it's broken free. And I'll see if I can get this taken care of. Look at that. Wow. There it is. And this is actually pretty lucky too, because I was looking at these, oh yeah, it looks like this is going to probably have to, that might be stripped there. I'll see. Those studs might be stripped. I don't know. We'll see. If you do need to replace these studs, check the pin comment. I got a link to a video about how to replace these studs. Or if you came down here and these were completely rusted off and your oxygen sensor was hanging down, I got a video to show how to do that. So that's the purpose of this repair. I just got to get this O2 sensor out. Alright, there's that O2 sensor. There is a gasket here. This is really petrified on there, but that is a gasket there. I'll put up that part number. But mainly I just wanted to show you in this video how well that extractor worked. I'm pretty happy with it. There's a closer look at the socket that I used to extract those real rusted Toyota pinch nuts And this is the kit that it came from. Let's focus back down on that. It looks like it holds 10. It comes with slots for 10, but it only comes with 5. But it's only $15, $16 or so. And you can get this at Lowe's. So if you're in a bind and you need something right now, and you can get down to your local Lowe's, this might be hanging on the shelf. Very reasonable price. You're out the door with this, and this might solve your problem. I've used this kit quite a bit. Not these here. I know I've used this. I think I've used that. But I haven't used the smallest and I haven't used the biggest. But I do like this kit, and I can recommend it again, especially for the price. It's not the same as the Irwin kit. The Irwin kit is probably a higher quality. It's made in the USA by Hansen. This is the Kobalt kit's made in China. There are many different styles of extractors that you'll come across. This style in particular, though, the main thing to remember is that you do need to hammer this on, as you saw in the video. If we were in a situation where we couldn't get this on without hammering it, then we'd have to move to a different type of extractor. For example, something like this, which is a different design. I'll come back to that in a minute. Or if it was a real tight space, sometimes you can only get a wrench in there, so you'd need to use like an extractor style wrench. But the main thing I want to mention with this is there are skips right in the set. It would be great if it came with all these extras, because you never know exactly what's going to fit. Just because this used to be a 12 millimeter doesn't mean that it's going to fit. You don't know until you actually get on it, because like this one, look at the amount of material loss on here from the corrosion. We'll compare that to a 12 millimeter. That's what size that originally was. Of course, this is a nut and this is a bolt, but that would have been the same dimensions on that hex. And so it's nice to have extra sizes, because you never know exactly where you're going to be. Even like on this kit, if you look at the reviews, some people say that this smallest socket, which is labeled for 3/8, some people say that it will work on a corroded out or rounded out 10 millimeter. But as you can see, there's also a 10 millimeter socket that would be available if this was a full kit, and that's going to be just a little bit larger since it's 3/8. So for example, here's a real 10 millimeter. This is in good shape, and you could really wail on this and hammer this on here, and it would get on there and probably work well. But just keep that in mind as far as the skips. You're going to encounter some fasteners when you only have 5 in a kit like this. You will encounter some fasteners that you're not going to be able to grab with these, because again, you want it to be tight. So just as an example, okay, this is just too loose. All right, that's not how these extractors work. You want to make sure that you're able to really hammer them on. So that's just something to keep in mind with whatever extractors you happen to pick. Like I said, for 15, 16 bucks, I think this kit is a great deal. But there will be places where you're going to be in between sizes, or you're simply just not going to be able to get a hammer behind it. And in that case, this is another style of extractor to think about and look at. You can get these at Harbor Freight and other places. The difference here, I've got a 12 millimeter that I pulled from this. The difference here with this set is typically the set will come with a few more, so you can get a little closer in size. So for example, that's the 12 millimeter that I grabbed, and it's a very, very tight fit on this clean 12 millimeter, and it would be a pretty good fit on a good fit, I should say, on even a rounded out one. Or you move to the next size down. If you can tap these on, if you can get one that's, you know, snug like this, and you just got to tap it a couple times to get it on, that's even better. Because the main thing with extraction is you want to avoid slip. So you want a tight fit. There's already been a lot of slipping if you're to the point where you've got a rounded off fastener. In this case, there wasn't any slipping. It was just that the rust had taken the shape away from it being 25 years old and all of that. But just keep that in mind. This is a different solution. And then sometimes you'll even be in a situation where you can't even get this socket on. You can only get something tiny in there like a wrench. And this, for example, is an extraction wrench. This particular one's by Capri. It's a Capri wave drive. So if we compare, it's actually a very similar design. Not identical, but very similar. Let me overlay them. Let's see if I can show you how close that is. There we go. Okay, so it's not identical, but it's very similar. But this, obviously, you can get this wrench in places where you would never be able to get a socket. And just keep in mind that either of these styles are intended for your regular right hand threaded fasteners, meaning fasteners that when you're on them, you're going to turn them in the counterclockwise direction to loosen, to extract. And the reason I mention that is you can see in here the shape that's biased. This is an even more biased shape because of the way that those flutes go. And again, this is the one that you have to hammer on. However, sometimes you will encounter the occasional left-hand threaded fastener. Not so much on automotive, although they do pop up on fasteners that hold things that spin, like blower motors sometimes will be opposite thread. Obviously, fan clutches and stuff like that can be opposite thread. But if you work on appliances, if you work on dryers and washing machines and things like that, or things with rollers, if you're working on equipment that has rollers, you will encounter the occasional left-hand threaded fastener, and sometimes those do get rounded out because people don't realize that they're left-hand thread and they're turning them to the left to loosen them when that's actually tightening them, and then they end up accidentally stripping those fasteners. In that case, unfortunately, these aren't really going to work for you, although I'm sure there's some very expensive socket set that's just like these but opposite. But I was thinking that this would work. So this is another one. This is that, as I showed earlier, this is a little Capri extractor wrench. They make longer versions of this and whatnot. But if you had this, the offset on this, you can see, meaning that there, this is intended for your regular right-hand thread, so for extracting, turning this way, but you could flip it this way. The last thing I want to mention about this kit, as a shout out to the designers, because I thought it was very thoughtful of them when they picked the size for these hex drives on each of these. They picked the size that'll work whether you got a SAE or metric on wrenches, and that's really thoughtful. So for example, this is a 5/8 hex here, but if you have more metric than SAE, you can get your 16 on there. Same deal here as you saw in the video. This is 19 millimeter, which is also will work with your 3/4 inch if you have more SAE wrenches. This is also 3/4 inch or 19 on this one. This size, they did the same deal. They did 22 millimeter if you're heavy on metric wrenches, or if you don't have any metric wrenches, you can use your 7/8 SAE on there. And same deal on the last one. They did 24 millimeter / 15/16. So they didn't have to do that. I thought that was super thoughtful though. So those are my thoughts on this little kit from Kobalt. I recommend it. Like I said, it's, you want to have different options for extracting fasteners, because when you see a fastener that needs extraction, your day just kind of got bad, and it's nice to have as many options on hand as you can reasonably have. If you don't have anything and you're in a bind and Lowe's is open, this might get you out of the bind. So I hope this video was helpful for you in case you have to extract a fastener. Thank you for watching, and good luck with your repair.